welcome back. I have been on summer break, which seems like an eternity ago now, and then autumn is always my absolute busiest time, this autumn more than others for various reasons. But I finally had time to sit down and tell you about my new design, because that's what we're going to be doing today. We are going to talk about the Montmartre, which I completely slaughtered, the Montmartre Jumper. It is, as you probably guessed, the knit that I am wearing, and if you follow me over on Instagram you will already have seen this. It was published a couple of weeks ago and I'm finally catching up with all the stuff that I should have been talking to you guys about. After summer break, just a quick rehash of what's been happening. I got straight back to work, updating the shop, doing big shop updates because it was there were slim pickings at fabel.com. And then I am writing a book again. If you are following me on Instagram, you will already know this. We've just been it's at the printers now. We'll have it in 2 weeks is the estimate. But we've just been editing and going back and forth, fixing every little small thing, and it's taken a lot of time, as it should be, probably also because I'm very nitpicky and I want it to be just so. The book I'll talk about that more in a later episode, now that I have a bit more time to do this stuff. But it's coming in Norwegian in the first 2 weeks of October. We don't have a set date yet, it depends on a few things, just mostly the printers. But that's taking up a lot of time, so doing that on top of just doing regular Fabel knitwear work has been quite time consuming. And then 3 weeks ago now, I got a cold, a really bad one, got tested, was luckily not COVID. But that took a good 5 days, 4 or 5 days out of my week. A week that I was meant to be dyeing up for Bergen Knitting Festival, which is happening from the 1st to 3rd of October, so next weekend, which is so exciting, where I'm so ready for that. Finally. But I was in a manic rush last week to dye up everything I needed for that festival, which I should have done over a period of probably 2-3 weeks, just to not work myself into the ground. But then because of the book edits and then that blasted cold, I only had a week to get all that stuff ready, because obviously it has to dry and then be skeined up and labelled and all that stuff as well. So it's been really, really hectic. I got my second COVID vaccine dose on Friday, because I have experience from the HPV vaccine. I tend to get quite a few of the side effects. So I tried to time my vaccines for Fridays, so that if I get sick, I'll have the weekend to recover. And that was a good thing, because I got the works of the side effects, the fever, the chills, the muscle cramps, the headache, the nausea, all of it. So that was a fun weekend. But now it's all done, so that's great. All that out of the way. I've had this autumn's cold, or the season's cold, I'm hoping that's it. I've got my second dose. The book is at the printers. There isn't all that much left for me to do, except, of course, do my marketing, and hope you guys buy it. Launch party when that time comes, but that's just the fun stuff. A lot of the nitty-gritty work and life stuff that's been happening is sorted. So that's why I've been so incredibly busy. Bergen Festival is happening this weekend, so we're driving down on Friday, and I'm so excited. Everything is ready, and after that I have Stavanger Festival, which is the 3rd weekend of October, and I'm gonna start getting ready for that as soon as I'm back from Bergen. And then that's it for the really hardcore stuff happening. It's just so happened that everything is happening within the same like 6-week time span of all this stuff. So yeah, so busy. It's really nice to sit down and take a calm morning. I'm on my second cup of tea. I am heading into my studio later just for some packaging, but that's fine. Yeah, I can breathe now. So that's just a really quick update. Not meant to complain or anything. It's just busy, and when it's busy, it's nice to get that off your chest in a way, to explain my absence, because I have been getting a few messages from viewers and followers, which is so nice. They're asking when I will be posting another video, and I can only say summer holidays and then the most hectic autumn ever is the reason. So that's that all out the way. Let's start talking about what we're here for, which is the Montmartre Jumper. The Montmartre Jumper is the one I'm wearing. As you can see, it is a striped pullover, jumper, sweater, call it what you will. It's knit in fingering weight yarn. I have used Athena, which is a Fabel knitwear base. It's a merino nylon gold stellina base in the colorways Fleur, which is my creamy sort of light neutral color, and Warlock, which is a deep rusty red, to do my stripes. It's knit top down, so it starts at the neckline, and then you use, I've talked about this before, you knit the shoulder seam out to the width specified for your body. There are instructions on how to do this in the pattern, so you get a tailored look. And then as you start knitting the shoulders and the sleeves, you knit the sleeve seam, which goes vertically down there, and it gives you this beautiful look of a inset tailored sleeve while actually knitting it all at the same time. And it is just the most fun way of knitting a jumper ever. I am obsessed with it. I love it so much, and I talked about this at length before, but just a full disclaimer, I was so sure I had invented a brilliant new technique, because I was just I didn't know anyone else had done this. I tried looking online and I couldn't find any references to it, but then of course I don't know every single knitting pattern that is available. I was by no means the first person to do this. It has been done before. So while not my invention per se, I still invented it in my own head without references. But online it is known as the contiguous method. So if you want to search for more patterns that uses this technique, even though they're not mine, you can type in that. Just full disclaimer there. So that's how the torso is knit, and I love this method so much. The neckline is double, so you fold it over and it gives you this really cozy and nice structured neckline. I really enjoy that in my autumnal jumpers. But it being fingering weight, it's still just a great year-round jumper, at least here in Norway. The sleeves are, I always pull my sleeves up, and this is great for that, but if I wear them as they should be worn. It has voluminous bishop sleeves that gather at the elbow, and then you knit a ribbed cuff all the way down to the wrist. I'm going to do this because that's how I tend to wear any sleeve that I am wearing. If it's a knit or a shirt or a long sleeve dress, I will always pull them up. I always have. But that's great because this fitted cuff will make sure it stays in place. The design is inspired by the late Victorian era. You can see the inspiration in the silhouette in the shoulders, because they don't have any structure underneath. So in a sewn garment, if you're doing something inspired by this period, you would add in structure. So you would have puffs, or you would have shoulder pads, or nets, or tulle, or something to give structure to the shoulder. That's not that common in knitwear. I have one pattern that's coming where I do that. But most people who want knitwear want to be able to wear it under coats and such, and it just gives it a more casual, modern shape when you don't put in these historical shoulder pads. But if you wanted a more oomph silhouette, you could definitely do it and it would look amazing. There's loads of room here to add in as much structure and shape as you desire. This doesn't have that, so it does drape quite nicely, but it's still inspired by that more structured, iconic silhouette. The sleeves are very common for late Victorian, early Edwardian wear. You get this shape, which is, I would say, seeing as it's not puffed enough out the shoulder, I wouldn't really call it a leg of mutton sleeve. They are really voluminous and they most definitely have more structure in them. But that's what it's inspired by, and it does have room to become a leg of mutton sleeve with the right structure, combined with this blousing around the rest of your arm. It's not really only a bishop sleeve, but it's not a leg of mutton sleeve either. It's somewhere in between those. And the slim cuff is also very common in that time period. Oh, so nice. The body is knit cropped and fitted, as is a lot of my designs, as you know. It's not so the ease across the bust is meant to be like a couple of centimeters negative to neutral. Mine is fairly neutral because I don't really have much to show for in the bust department. And then it's meant to not be super tight at the body going down towards the waist. The waist is cinched in with a ribbed hem. Now, some of you might know that the late Victorian, early Edwardian era in Europe was greatly defined by the Belle Epoque of France, or Paris, I should probably specify a bit more. The Art Nouveau movement, not really a movement, but the art style known as Art Nouveau blossomed in Paris and many other European cities such as Prague during this time. Artists such as Alphonse Mucha, which I have no idea how to pronounce his name, which is ridiculous because he is my favourite artist. I say Mucha, but I've heard so many other pronunciations out there, I'm not really sure. Who is an amazing Czech artist who did a lot of the most famous Art Nouveau artwork of all time. He is probably the most famous Art Nouveau artist ever. And he worked in Paris, or he did a lot of his work in Paris. And you can see it with the French metro signs, this Art Nouveau style. There's loads of gorgeous Art Nouveau architecture. And this art style greatly defined that period. So, and the Belle Epoque was the French version of this. They really embodied the art of the time. I don't know if that made any sense in my head. It does. However, of course, this art style didn't create a completely brand new fashion. So you have a period with these really structured and kind of strict silhouettes that you get in the late Victorian, early Edwardian era. But then you have these beautiful flowing, softer shapes starting to come in as you go into the Edwardian era more than the Victorian. And that, I just think that changing point, or that turning point in fashion, as you slowly come into that more feminine look, is really inspiring. I love that point of fashion, or that era, and I'm often very inspired by it, as I was with this. Now, I just off the top of my head can't think of any historical references from this time with striped jumpers at all. I'm gonna Google it and see if I can find anything. So the stripes are definitely just my way of putting that more caricature-like spin off of Parisian fashion and thus the Belle Epoque onto this late Victorian, early Edwardian silhouette to kind of make a modern mishmash of what Belle Epoque could be if we look at it from a very, as I said, caricatured Parisian view. Hence the stripes and also the name. Montmartre is a Parisian. I am not very good at French, but okay, I'm gonna try to say the French word for the Parisian neighborhoods. Montmartre is the 18th arrondissement. Today, this area in Paris is known as the Belle Epoque's artistic district. If you have watched Moulin Rouge, you already know this. There was a blossoming of artists living in this area. It was a relatively poor district as far as I can tell, but still renowned today. There's something about Montmartre. Whenever I'm in Paris, we go there. It's beautiful and it's very iconic. And so that's the name. That's the inspiration for the name of this knit. So this is it. This is the Montmartre jumper. It is, as I said, a Belle Epoque Parisian inspired, late Victorian, early Edwardian inspired fingering weight knit that is worked top down. I love this. As I said, mine is knit in a deep, rusty, almost brown red and cream. I am planning on working one up in my 2021 Advent colorways, so with 5 colors, because you can obviously have as much fun with this as you want. They are not live yet. The pre-order for Advent calendars is still alive. It's still live. It is not alive. That would be terrifying. If you would like to order one. I also really want to knit one in the 2020 Advent colorways because I loved that collection of colours so much. And I think that would just be a really lovely autumnal, wintry, festive knit. So that's on my list. However, there are so many other options, colour choices that I would love to work this in. Really, the sky is the limit. You can do as many colour changes as you want. Obviously, the two-tone is very classic, and I would like several more in a two-tone. I would like one in the Two Rivers and Fleur. I think Fleur works with so many of these, so I'm probably gonna over use that as a suggestion. You could do Knox and Fleur, you could do Astronomy Tower, do Gröna Grytterna. So many options. However, I'm gonna try to be a bit more creative here. I also really love the thoughts of do Gröna Grytterna or the Two Rivers worked with Capulet. Those pinks and some speckles. I really like using a solid with a more subtly variegated one. Same goes for Astronomy Tower and Duskwood. That would be really, really nice. You could do Mage Bloom. Is of course a wonderful substitute for Fleur if you want some more speckles. Do that with Acorn or with Warlock would be nice. Ooh, Warlock or Juvel, which is a slightly more ruby red, worked with ballet shoes would be so nice. I love a red and pink combo. Pearly Grey Ghost with Knox would be beautiful. Obviously, Pearly Grey Ghost is another great substitute for cream, for Fleur, if you would like a grey contrast instead of a cream one for your more colourful stripe. And these are just some of the two-tone options that I can think of off the top of my head, but there are so many more. Gröna Grytterna and Spring Meadow, Dragon Scale and Carcaman. Oh, Carcaman would be so nice. You could also do Carcaman and Juvel or Warlock. Juvel and Pepper Carcaman on top. That would be so nice. A Reborn Acorn. Oh yes. Faye and the Two Rivers, Juvel and Phoenix Egg. There are so many options that you could do, and so many more. Oh, I have loved seeing your versions start popping up already. It's my favourite thing. You remember to use the hashtag when you post pictures on Instagram so that I can have a look and just have fun knitting it. It goes by really quickly. Stripes is so addictive. I'm not the only one who thinks so, because several of my, pretty much all my test knitters commented on wanting, I'll just do one more stripe, oh just one more stripe, and then suddenly you've done so much more than you would have if it was just a single solid colour. So stripes are really a great way of getting your knitting mojo back, I'd say, if you've lost it after a long summer. You could also do it for some scrap yarn stash busting. Make yourself a scrap Montmartre jumper. That would be a really good way of getting rid of your fingering weight scraps. Do as many colours as you want, or however many scrap colours that you have. I'd love to see that. I think I've rambled on for quite long enough. Before we end, I would like to show you some outfits. I feel like this was a bit messy. I apologise. It's always like this when it's been a while since I filmed, because it takes some getting used to sitting down and just talking without it becoming just a ramble. But I hope you liked this design. I am very, very happy with it myself. It's probably one of my favourites. So have fun if you decide to knit it, and I will see you hopefully very soon. I will come back and talk to you guys about my book in the very near future. Bye.